to Journey of Enlightenment. I am your host, Dr. Roger Gopaul. Our program focuses on Vedic literature, Vedic traditions, and Vedic philosophy. Each program will look at different aspects of Vedic life. This season, I tend to focus heavily on the application of the knowledge of our Vedic traditions. Not simply an analysis of the text, but what that text means to us today. How do we interpret this? How do we apply this in our new world, in a modern world? And I think this is very important for us because our texts were not meant to be relevant simply 5,000 and 10,000 years ago. It was meant to be eternal. That is why we call it Sanatana Dharma. It is eternal. There is no beginning and no end to this knowledge. Therefore, it is our duty to find the application of this knowledge in a modern context, the things that we face today. And what do we face today? We have seen the world thrown into an unparalleled turmoil over the past 2 years. We have seen countries literally shut down. We have seen industries grind to a halt. We have seen airports closed indefinitely. We have seen poverty levels risen more than one would like to imagine. What do we do in a circumstance such as this? Do we sit back and say, well, it's good for them, but I am lucky that I got away? Or why did someone else benefit, but I am suffering? Is that the approach that we should take? It all reminds me of The Merchant of Venice, a book written by William Shakespeare, in which a particular character, Portia, decided to help someone get justice. In helping the individual, Portia said that how far that little candle throws its beams, so shines a good deed in a weary world. Indeed, that little candle can throw its beam in a very dark room. You don't need a light to find a light. And carrying a candle, you cannot find darkness. For that candle will illuminate everything around. It is our duty, big or small, talented or not, as we may feel, but it is our duty to bring relief, to bring joy, and to bring happiness to those around us. I distinctly remember a story that I read in one of our local newspaper many years ago. The title was The Honest Thief. The title itself actually caught my attention because it was almost a paradox. It was contradictory. How can you be a thief and be honest? And the story of the honest thief went on to tell of a passenger who sat down in the back seat of a taxi. He was the only passenger at that point in time sitting in the back. Next to him was a brown folder. The passenger asked the taxi driver if the folder belonged to him. So the taxi driver said, "No, I have no idea what you are talking about." So the passenger decided that he will open the folder. So he did. When he opened the folder, he discovered a few things. He saw someone's birth paper, a driver's permit, a wallet, and some money. There were other important documents as well in this folder. The passenger, according to the newspaper report, pondered on whether or not to leave the folder in the taxi or should he take it? If he took the folder, would he be stealing? If he left it, would he be leaving it for someone else to steal? This was the predicament that was going through his mind. So he decided that he will take the folder with him. So he took the folder. Now, this passenger was unemployed. And when he saw the money, it was money that could have been used for his own children at home. The driver's permit, however, gave the name and address of the owner of the folder. The passenger decided that he will hire a taxi in order to find the owner of this folder. So he hired a taxi, and he eventually found the owner. He went and he called at his house, and the owner of the folder came out. The passenger presented to him this folder. Needless to say, the man was in shock, almost in tears, that his folder was returned to him. The folder contained his driver's permit, his child's birth paper, and other very critical documents. But it also contained his wallet and his 1 week's salary. The man looked through all the documents first, delighted that everything was returned intact. But when he counted the money, it was all there. Not 1 cent was used. He looked at the passenger and he said, "You could have taken the money because many people would have done so." The passenger said, "I have children and I am unemployed, and I did not know if you had children and if you were unemployed too. So how can I steal from you?" So the man then looked at the passenger and he wondered, "Why then did you take the folder?" So the man said, "I thought that it would be best if I stole the folder before someone else stole the folder." So he was regarded as the honest thief. It's an amazing story, because many times in our lives, we may believe that we need certain skill sets or a certain amount of resources or a certain rank in life in order to do something that is kind. We don't need it. We don't need to have everything going for us in order to show pity, to show kindness, to show compassion, to show empathy. The most important thing about this story of the passenger and the man is that the man's name, the passenger's name, was never revealed. It was the man who received his lost folder, decided to report it to a particular newspaper, that they carried the headline. The man remained unknown. And he wanted to remain unknown because these deeds done are never done for public acclamation, for publicity, for popularity. It's simply done because it is the right thing to do. We go about life sometimes looking to do a good deed just for others to see, for others to applaud us, for they to give us a pat on the back. Then what is the motivation? Why are we really doing a so-called good deed? If it is done for others to acknowledge how good we are, so-called, then the deed might be right, but the intention might be wrong. An act in itself is not determined to be right or wrong. It is the intention of the action that determines how righteous it is or not. In the case of this passenger, he operated very secretly. No one knew. And he did not want anyone to know, because he did it because it was the right thing to do. We are going through a period where many people are suffering. We may not have all the resources to feed our community. We may not have extra clothing that we can give out in the hundreds. But we may have an extra meal. We may have an extra shirt. We may have a heart of kindness, words of encouragement, a good thought. Those are the things that are needed. And not only because of this pandemic. There are people that we know who might just be in need of company. Elderly folks who are at home that would appreciate someone to sit and listen to the stories of yesteryear. I was home last December, and I sat down listening to an old woman relating all the stories about the folklores of Trinidad and Tobago. And she was so delighted, so happy to talk about the Suknya and the Duen, the Lajables, the Lagahu. And I actually was ecstatic to hear of these stories, which she believed to be true, and of course many people believe it to be true. I'm not denying its existence or not, but I was so intrigued just listening to her that I actually wrote it down. And for her, the happiness was that someone was willing to listen. And that is all that she needed. Someone was willing to listen. Are we going about life looking at the little things that we can contribute? Or do we go about life looking to see what we can get out of it alone? Are we then takers or are we givers? Sometimes it might just be a co-worker who is coming to the office and we have no idea what is going on in their life. And perhaps a warm smile, a pleasant good morning, maybe even making a cup of coffee or tea will do wonders to bring this person's feelings and emotions in a state of happiness, or at least a feeling of care. Are we conscious of the things that we are doing? The way that we relate to people? There is no way for us to know the burdens that someone is carrying on their shoulders. Let us not be quick to judge. Let us not be quick to condemn. Let us not be quick to be condescending to those around us. But instead, let us transform our own lives into one that is perpetually contributing to the betterment of this universe. Let us transform our mind, that our very thoughts in itself contributes positively to this world. Let our tongues speak words of sweetness, words of compassion, and words of care. Let our actions be done, not for popularity, not for self-gain, not for recognition, but our actions must be motivated by doing the right thing, because it is simply the right thing to do. That is our contribution to this world. Even at home, we need not look far. In our household, do we show these qualities? Do we show kindness? Do we show love? Do we show patience? Are we one way at home and another way on the outside? Are we making that positive contribution to the development of our own families? These are the things that matters most. Many years ago, I saw a pretty good Hollywood movie. I thought it was quite interesting, with Nicolas Cage, and the movie was National Treasure. What was interesting in that movie is that the main star, Nicolas Cage, was willing to steal the Constitution in order to protect it from someone else stealing it for the wrong reasons. The intention of the action determines the righteousness of the action or not. As we go forward, let us ensure that all our actions are done with the right intentions. Let us look around us. Let us see those in need. And those in need are not limited to humanity. Let us find every animal and ensure that they are not hurt by our doings. Let us be conscious of our environment, and that whatever we do protects the world that we live in. How often do we go to the beach or to the river and we have seen it polluted? Kindness is not limited to what we do for another human being. Kindness is a part of our very existence. It is who we are. And it can be shown to the plant kingdom, to marine life, to the animal kingdom, and to humanity. Why do we do it? We do it because it is the right thing to do. As we press on with our program, Journey of Enlightenment, we will look at the scriptures from these perspectives that is applicable to everyday life. Our program today was simply do the right thing, because it is the right thing to do. Thank you very much for joining me on Journey of Enlightenment. As usual, it is my great pleasure being with you, sharing some thoughts, and I look forward to you joining me next week. Please tell your friends, tell your family to join in as we journey to enlightenment. Thank you very much. Daniel.